Welcome to your Friday Football Fix. And here on Football Pass, I'm delighted to be joined to talk all things Scottish football, Alan Stubbs and Alan Hutton. Welcome, lads.
Thank you.
Hi, Kirsteen.
Alan Hutton, I'm going to start off with you. Steven Gerrard's done an incredible, remarkable job, hasn't he?
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, when he came in, it was about creating and building a new team, which I think he's done unbelievably well. Some of his recruitment that him and his backroom staff has been amazing. So we're really seeing that come through this season. And I mean, I know everybody's not into stats, but we can look at it, the clean sheets. I mean, that was a problem area for Rangers last season, giving away sloppy goals. They don't do that no more. I mean, they've only conceded 7 goals in the league, which is incredible, and no defeats. So it kind of speaks for themselves. And the one thing I would say is how you can see a championship team, a winning team, is when they're not playing so well and they can still grind out results, which in the previous game against St Johnstone, I think they weren't at their best, but they dug out the result that they needed. So it's been a massive improvement since Gerrard came in.
I'd love just to get your thoughts, Alan, on how he's achieved this. You know, how has he done it?
I think a lot of it comes down to his winning mentality. He's a player that's played at the highest level internationally and obviously in England. So him putting his experiences onto the players, demanding training to be at the highest level possible, conduct yourself right within the games also. So I think that rubs off on the team. It just demands the highest levels day in, day out, and you can actually see that working on the pitch at the moment.
It would be a real shock now if they didn't win the league, wouldn't it?
What a shock. Wow, it would be the biggest shock ever, if I'm honest. Look, I think this season, Rangers, as I said, have been phenomenal. It's been a difficult season for Celtic. Obviously, Rangers doing so well is piled on the pressure also, but I mean, I can say it sitting here as a fan that I think they've got one hand on the title at the moment. It's about them just grinding out the results that they need to obviously lift the trophy. But if I'm honest, I can't see that happening, that anything's going to go other than a Rangers victory.
Winning the title at Celtic Park, that really would be the icing on the cake, would it?
Of course. Look, again, as a fan, you can sit there and say it would be kind of icing on the cake if you want. Of course it would be, but I believe that Gerrard and his team will firmly have their feet on the ground and they'll only be concentrating on the points that they need. There's no way they'll be looking to that game and saying we can win the title there. They want to do it as soon as possible and get the wins as quickly as possible so they can achieve their goal. So yes, it would be great, but I think the whole Rangers team, they won't be focusing exactly on that.
Steven Gerrard, you know, how long will he stay? I think that's the question on everyone's lips. And where will he go next, Alan?
It's $1 million question, that. Well, I think he's building something. He's obviously, it's been great the last few seasons. This is now, we're seeing what he wanted to build. He's not only happy with this team, though, he's still looking to sign players and build for the future, which I like, which tells me that he wants to stay for the next few seasons. He's obviously done well in the European campaigns also. So I think he will want to stay for the next couple of years anyway. It's only going to be natural and for him that he wants to go down south and try at one of the bigger clubs. So I think it's a case of waiting until the time's right. He's obviously still learning as he goes along and he's doing a great job at Rangers at the moment, but I'm sure he will at some stage want to try down in England.
Stubbsy, what are your thoughts on Rangers' performance this season?
Very professional. I think they've been very impressive from the word go. I think what he's done, he's improved season upon season with the not just in terms of results, but in terms of the calibre of player that he's brought in. I think their recruitment has has been not faultless, but has been very impressive. And I think that the one thing that he's had is that he's started the season with no cracks. It's been seamless. It's been like a real flowing start of the season, pre-season. Whereas, on the opposite side of the city, Celtic, there's been lots of questions of recruitment and players not coming in, everything getting left to the last minute, players wanting to leave, players sulking, disruption behind the scenes with dressing room unharmony. There's been one thing after another, and I think this has all played into Rangers' hands. I do think that Rangers have coped with the whole situation of having no fans in the stadium better than what Celtic have, and I think in a way it's helped the Rangers players because I think if the season was played with fans in the stadium, I think you potentially may have seen a little bit of a different scenario, but they deserve all the credit. They've won it. They've won it hands down. There's no doubt about that. There's no coming back for Celtic now. And what Alan's just been speaking to about potentially winning at Celtic Park. Knowing Steven Gerrard, it doesn't make any difference what ground he wins the title at. It'll just be about winning a title. In such an important season where Rangers have answered their critics and all the questions that have been thrown at them, and Celtic, unfortunately, have fell like a pack of cards.
It does help, of course, that Celtic have had a lot of issues to deal with. They've had a very tough season, as you've said, and that has, in effect, meant that the pressure hasn't been on Rangers. They haven't had Celtic chasing their tail as they might have otherwise had.
Yeah, but you have to think that Rangers have not allowed Celtic to get close to them because they've been very diligent and very professional, and they've gone along, and their performances have been at a level, that has meant they've been able to keep winning games of football. Alan alluded to it before in terms of, you look at both teams. You've got one team that can't keep a clean sheet, and you've got another team that keeps clean sheets for fun. They've, even when Rangers have been in Europe against a much higher quality and calibre of players, I've done a few of the games, and they've not necessarily been at their best, but they've always stayed in the game. And because they've got that little bit of quality, it's just a matter of time before, I think it was against one of the, I think it was the Polish teams that they played in Europa League, and they weren't great. For 60 minutes they weren't great, but they kept a clean sheet. And the next minute, Barras puts an unbelievable ball across, and Morelos gets his head on it, and they win the game. And I think that's been Rangers on a couple of occasions. They've not necessarily played really well, but they know how to win games of football now.
And that's what it's all about. Let's talk about Celtic for a moment. Plenty of changes afoot there. Peter, he's out in the summer. He's retiring after, I think it's 17 years at the club. And there's been, obviously, throughout the season, there's been a lot of speculation about Neil Lennon and his future there. If there were to be a new manager come in to Celtic, do you think they should come in now? And bed in ahead of next season? What are your thoughts on that, Stubbsy?
I think first of all, Peter Lawwell's done an incredible job at Celtic over his tenure. But obviously this season, some people will look at potentially one of the most important. It's gone horribly wrong, and I think Peter's got has got a huge amount of respect for Neil. And he found himself in a really difficult position now because, personally, I probably don't think he wants to sack Neil or get rid of Neil. But I'd be surprised if Neil's still there at the end of the season because of the way the Celtic fans are right now in terms of, you know, them wanting change. They've got the first part of the change, I think, in seeing Peter leave, but they haven't got the second part in terms of, you know, a lot of the fans wanting a change in terms of a different manager. So, you know, the new man has got some big decisions to make, you know, and I think if I was him, I'd want that decision made for me. To be fair though, if he comes in, he's in a bit of a no lose situation here, because if he gets rid of Neil, then a lot of the fans were thinking, yeah, okay, you know. But if Peter does it for him, then, you know, he's saved them a decision to make and all. So I think personally, and I like Neil, he's done an incredible job. But I thought his interview last week after the loss was very telling. You know, he looked really down, as low as I'd seen him. He questioned the players' professionalism, attitude, fitness, desire. You know, and I think he's refrained himself from saying that for a number of months. And I think he just got to a point where he thought, you know what, you've left me out to dry. You know, so I'm gonna say what I feel now.
It's very, very tough at the moment. On a different note, though, Jonjoe Kenny, who you know personally,
Yeah.
Stubbsy, I mean, he's come in on loan from Everton, and he's made an immediate impact. Already a fan favourite, man of the match. You know, tell us about Jonjoe and what you think he can do at the club. You know, what impact he can make for the remainder of the season.
He's a very infectious character, Jonjoe. If you're a manager or a coach, he's the one go-to guy that you go to all the time, because he'll set the tone of a training session. He will demand standards of every player, and if he sees a player that's not pulling his weight, he'll be the first one to say to them, or he'll lift them with a tackle in training. You know, he's that type of player. Don't be or don't be misguided by his size and his stature, because, you know, within that is a really big personality. He's an absolute diamond of a guy to not just speak to, but to train. And he's like John McGinn that I had at Hibs. All the players loved him, and they looked up to him when he was on the pitch, because he would be the one that would set the tone. And for me, he's exactly what Celtic needs right now. Someone with a bit of personality, someone who's not worried about anybody in terms of their stature and their name. Doesn't make any difference. He'll be great for Neil for however long that is. But it won't surprise me, you know, and it's easy to see that, you know, he'll be taken to the Celtics fans' hearts very quickly if he carries on, you know, putting in performances the way he did the other night.
And Neil Lennon's called him a gritty little hard man. A high praise indeed.
Yeah, probably what a lot of people say. He's a gritty little Scouser. You know, he's a kid who's brought up in a very working class area, knows what has to fight and work hard for everything, and he deserves everything that he's getting. I really can't speak highly enough of him. You know, he's a brilliant lad. I actually seen him on Sunday driving past me, and he waved in the car, and little did I know that he was signing for, you know, Celtic later on that day. He's just an all-round really nice lad.
A great start for him. Alan, before we wrap up, obviously you played for Scotland for many years. The Euros coming up this summer. We all need something to look forward to. You know, how excited are you about the Euros?
It's absolutely massive. I mean, myself obviously playing for Scotland for 10 years and not getting close is probably the one thing that it kind of disappoints me when I look back. I'd have loved to have made a kind of final. So to have this experience now, even though it's been so long, it's something that the whole country can look forward to. And, you know, I think we've got a decent opportunity. Yes, obviously, the game against England's going to be very difficult down there, but you've effectively got 2 home games and a chance to going through. As I said before, it's going to be difficult, but with the team spirit that's there, with the boys keeping together, like to John McGinn, these kind of guys that can drive the team forward, there's always going to be a chance. And things are looking up. I think Steve Clarke's done a really good job. He's transformed that squad into having a winning mentality, going out and giving all every time you step on the pitch. So I think it's going to be a real good summer and something that hopefully the fans can get right behind and we can do well.
I was going to ask you, how impressed are you with the national side?
I think they've come on leaps and bounds, if I'm honest. There's obviously been spells where it's not been so good, and it's been difficult to watch. But he's found a formation that suits the team. They've all bought into it. They're playing well. They're playing for each other, and you can see that. They're all happy to meet up and really put in the work, whether it be on the training field and obviously on the pitch. So it only bodes well for the future. If they can keep this going, then you never know what kind of heights they can reach, because they're a young, hungry squad with a lot to prove, and they're going out giving their all every time.
On that note, lads, thanks very much for catching up, and look forward to chatting to you both again really soon.
Thanks, Kirsteen. Thank you. Cheers, Al. I was due to go to do the Celtic Kilmarnock game for Sky, and when I was driving up, I didn't feel too good, more so in terms of just the temperature. So I rang up Paul from Sky and just said, listen, I don't feel great. I don't want to take any risks, more so with everybody else rather than myself. I'm going to head back. So I turned back and come home, and my daughter's in there. So we had a self-testing kit, and obviously tested myself, and it was positive. So I've been isolating since then. And luckily enough for me, I've only had mild symptoms at the moment. So I've just had a bit of a temperature, and only in the last day or so, maybe a little bit of short breathness, but nothing more than that. So it looks like I may have been one of the lucky ones and just had a mild symptom of it.
Obviously, I started getting into the media side of it. At the beginning, I didn't really enjoy it, if I'm honest, because I found it difficult to kind of talk about people that I knew well. I just kind of stepped out the game, so I found it difficult. So I did step away from it for a while, but I've got back into it recently. I've enjoyed it. I've done some like co-commentary stuff that I've really been into. So yeah, enjoying it. I'm going to do my coaching badges, I think, in the summer, which I never thought I would say, but it's another thing that I can add moving forward that can help me. So looking forward to summer, looking forward to starting it, and then just take it from there. At the moment, Aston Villa confidence is through the roof. I think obviously when you've got that kind of bit of magic with the likes of Jack Grealish and the team, anything could happen. But I just think it's night and day from obviously last season. It was really difficult. They were letting in sloppy goals, making errors defensively, and they seem to have kind of figured that out. The coaching staff with John Terry have worked ever so hard on trying to keep the ball out of the net, even though they have made a few errors in recent games, but over the whole, they've done excellently well. So I believe that they can go and put in a good performance and get the 3 points that they need.
I think the way Carlo Ancelotti's set them up, they're very much suited to like an away from home team where they're difficult to beat and they've got pace on the counter attack, and it's really suited them this season. Right now, and there's not an awful lot. Everton, they find themselves on 36 points. They've got a couple of games in hand, which could get them up into the Champions League spot. But for me, I think if Everton can, finish in that top six positions, I think they've had a great season. I really do.
Are Liverpool still in the title race after that result against Brighton? What do you think, Stubbsy?
I do think they're still in it, but I think Sunday is a must-win game for them. You know, if City win that game, then they obviously have a game in hand and all, which is a huge amount for Liverpool to claw back. We've seen from Liverpool this season that they've not really been as good as they have been over the last couple of years, which the standards that they've set over the last couple of years has been so impressive. And it's been difficult for all the blue side of Merseyside to see it all. But you have to take your hat off. They've been very, very good this season. When you look at their injuries to probably their most important player, Van Dijk, you would have thought defensively would have been where their problem would have been, but it's been in the opposite end in terms of goal scoring, which they've stuttered and spluttered, at times. And some of the performance against Brighton the other night was probably similar to what Liverpool have been like over the last couple of months.
If Liverpool don't win, I mean, we're talking about 7 points. That could increase to 10, and then the game in hand 13. I think that would be far too much to claw back. In terms of City this season, I think they've been fantastic. Obviously, defensively, since John Stones come back into the team, I think he's been fantastic. They've hardly conceded a goal. And we know how they play. They love to fly forward. Their movement's unbelievable. They score goals. Not as many as in previous seasons, but they are getting back to their best. And if you look at Liverpool, you would think that defensively, losing the likes of Van Dijk, Gomez, they would struggle. But again, as Stubbsy says, that they've struggled at the top end of the park. So to try and get back into this, obviously, title race, this is a huge game. They need the 3 points. They can't let the gap get any bigger, because if that happens, I can only see City running away with it.